Hey, hello, and welcome to the July update of Montana Shared Services. Hopefully, you all are staying cool enough and safe this time of year and getting out and enjoying some Montana sun and water. And so, this is just a half hour, a few updates. And so, here's our agenda for the day. We'll do some introductions. We always like to start with a little overview of RAISE and Montana Shared Services in case this is your first one you're tuning into. Then we have a very special guest, Beth from GWiz, who's going to share a little bit about their awesome resources and curriculum. And then we'll just have a little bit of some highlights about Montana Shared Services, the substitute service, and then we'll end it with some questions. And so let's just launch in. Full transparency, it's just Beth and I. So we'll do our introductions, and then if more people come in, we'll go from there. And so I'm Gray Birchie. I'm the Raise Montana Shared Services Coordinator. I live in Missoula, but we are a statewide nonprofit. And our fun little question today is, what is your favorite summertime fruit or vegetable? And for me, I would normally say cucumbers. I love cucumbers, but I've been getting these dark red radishes lately.
Ooh,
They're like purple almost, and they're so good. So, Beth, I'll pass it to you.
my favorite is watermelon. I eat so much watermelon. I told my husband I'm going to turn pink by the end of this summer. So definitely watermelon for me. I love
Nice.
all fruits and vegetables though, so
Yeah.
that's just my favorite.
And our watermelon's good now in Florida? Are they
Ah,
ripe
yes. Yeah,
ready? Yeah.
actually they're coming from South Carolina already. Our
Oh,
watermelons were
nice.
probably ready maybe April-ish,
Okay.
May, probably May, and now they're coming from South Carolina. So, but yes, they're very good right now.
Oh, okay. I still haven't had a good one yet this year, but hopefully soon.
Soon,
Montana,
soon.
check. Yeah. So like I said, Raise Montana is a statewide nonprofit working in the early childhood field. We support the childcare resources and referrals across the state, as well as providers directly through different services like Montana Shared Services, which we'll talk about. We also have our trauma-informed work. We also work with the Montana Family Child Care Network and have a whole host of other services on our website. But today we are here for shared services. And so shared services is really about bringing childcare providers together to increase their job satisfaction through connection and also through coming together, create more buying power. So the idea is to save you all time and money because those are very limited, precious resources. And so by having this kind of group spending power, we are able to get awesome discounts, do other services like telehealth, our substitute service, so you can have a day off or an extra pair of hands and don't have to close. Our newest service is our book subscription, so getting some books to your doors cheaply and quickly because again you guys don't have a whole bunch of time, and so we're all open to all programs who are licensed and registered either state or tribally. So if you want more information, definitely check out our website. In this recording, I'll put links to. Okay. And with that, I would love to, I'll stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pass it over to Beth from GWiz.
Hello, everybody. My name is Beth Smith, and if you give me just a second, I can share a person my permit. So let's see if it'll allow me to do it. 1 minute, please. You should see the GWiz Education website. Does everybody see that? Gray, do you
Yes.
see that? All right,
Yes.
perfect. All right, so thanks so much for inviting me, and I'll keep this very short and very sweet, but I just want to share a little bit about GWiz. We are a company dedicated to providers that work with mixed age groups. We started in 2012. We have we're aligned with all the state standards, including, of course, Montana, and you can find information about that on our website. But we really felt when we started the company that family child care providers and those working in homes with mixed age group particularly did not have anything specifically written for them. We found a lot of providers were trying to use curriculum written for centers in their homes, and while they could do it, it was very expensive, and it was really hard to have like multiple curriculums, one for toddlers, one for threes. So we went about creating Gee Whiz. We started a focus group. We wrote multiple drafts of multiple ways of doing this. And after all these years, it's gotten bigger and better, we hope, than it ever has been before. But Gee Whiz is a curriculum that you can use in your home with activities for everybody from your babies, your infants, all the way to after schoolers. And I'm going to show you a sample lesson plan real quickly, but everything I'm going to show you right now and everything that is I'm going to touch as I go through things is available to all of you. It is free. That's the other thing we wanted to do. We wanted to be a place for resources. We wanted to be a place for training. We wanted to be more than just curriculum for providers. And so the things that I'm going to show you are available to all of you without being a customer. But what I'm going to show you right now is under about the curriculum. First and foremost, if you want to know a lot about GWIS, go to the first tab, which is in a nutshell. And there's a book that has everything you possibly could want to know about the curriculum. It has samples of all the components. It has a lot of information about our philosophy, a lot of information about how we do things in that booklet. Our user's guide is extremely extensive. It's 90 some pages long. It has information about like 10 different developmental levels. It has information about anecdotal notes and individualization and the research behind the curriculum. It's considered our training manual, so that's also again available to everybody. Anybody can download that. But right now I'm going to go to this sample lesson plan, and the reason I want to go there is because that's usually what folks want to see. Like, well, how do you do that? Like, how in the world do you in one day of lesson plans address all the ages? And so what I want to do is show you how we do that. Most everything we do is PDF format, lesson plans included, and if you were a customer, that's all you do to download the curriculum. You basically click a button, says download, boom, you have it. But this is one page out of one of our units that we did called Blankets, Boxes, and Balls. I think that was the title. And I'm going to blow this up just a little bit as I go through it because I know it's tiny. Let's see if I can make it just a bit bigger. There we go. So you'll notice first and foremost in our lesson plans, we don't have dates. So you really could do this unit anytime you wanted to. So let's say it's a June unit for us, but you don't have time in June, and that's okay. You could just save it and download it later. The focus of the day is here, and then you'll see all these picture codes. You're like, what in the world are all of those? Well, as you know, it's very important to address all the developmental areas. And in GWIS, we address 10 of them. And so we wanted a way for you at a glance to see, okay, if I do this activity, these are all the areas I'm going to address. So each one of these picture codes corresponds to a developmental area. So for instance, the heart is social and emotional growth. This is language development, physical development and health, approaches to learning, creative arts, science knowledge, music, literacy, social studies, math knowledge, and logic and reasoning. So if you did all the activities in this one day that I'm going to show you of a lesson plan in GWiz, you would cover all those areas. And this is our way of making that easy for you to see the connection. We have a health and safety tip every day. We have a teaching idea every day and a transition idea. We also, in this blue box, have ways to model language. We know that's really, really important. So these are words we want you to use in conversations with children during the course of the day, because if you use them in conversation with children, the children then begin to understand what those words mean. And even if they're nonverbal, when they do become verbal, they'll know how to use the word wait or how to use the word address. And then these are just some additional ideas on how you can continue to model language in the rest of the day. Then we used to call this circle time. This is our group experience or our whole group experience. We used to call it circle time, and we were like, it's not really what it is. It's really a time when you, as a provider, are exploring with the children. You're introducing new concepts, but you're doing it through a hands on way, and you're doing it together. And so that's why we changed the name of this to Exploring Together. You'll see another list of picture codes. These are all the developmental areas you would address during this one single activity. Then you have what you'll need to do it. Anything in red just might need a little extra time to prepare. We try to use things you're going to have around the house, like boxes and blankets and baking sheets and wooden spoons and bowls, things that you don't have to go buy because again, as Grace said, you don't have time nor do you have money to go buy things. So we try to use the things you have on hand. And then it just walks you through how you would do the experience. You'll see this box over here with questions. Every single experience we do in GWiz, except for infants, has open-ended questions to ask as you're doing the experience. Why? Because asking open-ended questions is a great way to engage children in back and forth conversations, and we know how important that is. That helps you know more about each child, it helps you learn about their interests, it helps you learn about their background knowledge, and it helps them to build language development skills as well. All right, so that's the first page of one day. Here's the second page. You'll see two activities in pink. These are experiences that can be set up where the children do them independently, but you are there as the facilitator. And of course, you're going to ask open ended questions. You will see some of these where you have different ages listed. These are developmental ages, not chronological ages. So, what I say when I do my training is I'm like, look, read the whole activity, packing and shipping. Think about every single child you have in your group and think about each child individually and how they would best approach this experience, and then you could adapt based on that. You may need to adapt even further for children who are more advanced or less advanced or have an area of development they're working on, or you might have someone with a special need that you have to think about. So you're going to have to maybe adapt even more than we do, but we've gotten you started. And then the second activity of banging on boxes, we don't even provide that because this is an experience the children are automatically going to level based on where they are. So that one doesn't need us to level up because they're going to automatically do it wherever they are. And then in purple, every day we have an infant experience. This is something meant to do one on one with infants. Does it mean you can't do this with other children? Absolutely not. They would probably all love this rhyme, What's in the Box, right? But it means that we have thought about that infant. You'll find tummy time activities. You'll find things to do during diapering. Because let's face it, with infants, you spend a lot of time eating, a lot of time diapering, and a lot of time sleeping. So why not use those as learning times as well? So we do also within the teaching guide have additional activities for school age children. There are six in the teaching guide. Then we have a whole separate component that comes with each month that also has additional activities for your school age children. Now, keep in mind, this is one day, just one day out of a unit of GWiz. Each unit comes with 10 days of experiences, and there are 2 units every month, so that's 20 days of experiences. And most providers find we give them way more than they can possibly get done. And that's the goal, right? Our goal is to do the hard part. And this is what I tell people when I do training. Look, a curriculum should not be something that you do and that's all you do. A curriculum should be a foundation upon which you build. So when you look at GWiz or any curriculum, look at it as a foundation of a house, right? You're building that foundation, and then everybody's foundation of a house is basically the same. You're going to have some walls, you're probably going to have some structural supports in the center, right? Or else it's going to fall down. So your curriculum is that foundation, but the house that is built upon it is going to be very, very different depending on you, depending on your children, depending on their likes, depending on their needs. And so this is where you come in. So we provide the foundation, and then you provide that creative approach where you're building the house upon that foundation. But one thing you can know is if you're using GWiz, we're covering all those developmental areas for all those ages, every single lesson plan that we do. And that's our goal to make your life a little bit easier. All right, so I'm just going to hit the back button. Gray, do we have anybody on that we might have questions with, or not yet?
Yeah, Jessica just joined us. So Jessica, Beth is from GWiz, which has curriculum and resources for mixed age group. And so you came in through most of it, but if you have any questions about stuff Beth's talked about or to kind of set us up, feel free.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
do. Is this a full day curriculum or lesson plan, or is it?
That what I just showed you was just one day, right? And so
Okay.
in any given unit of GWiz, there's 20 or there's 10 days of lesson plans in each unit. I'll show you what I mean. It'll be easier if I show you this. So let me go to the yearly outline. We just posted, for instance, the 2024-25. We start in September as a school year, but let me just go to the outline. It'll make it more clear. All right. So here we are in July, right? The
Mhm.
2 units that we're doing in July right now are forest explorations and at the beach. And within Unit 1, there are 10 days of activities. In Unit 2, there's 10 days of activities within the teaching guide. In addition to that, we also have school age experiences in another book, and we have some additional activities. But the lesson plan booklet itself, each one, like the one for forest explorations, would be 34, 35, 36, depends on the unit, pages long. Same thing for at the beach. And I'm going to show you like how easy it is to log in and how many different components there are. So, in essence, you would end up in the month with 20 days of activities, which most providers find is more than enough, because
Yeah.
they have children, Monday through Friday, and not all of them. Some have 24-hour daycare. I don't know how they do that, but they do. So, yeah, 20 days for the month of, say, July. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Kind of. So I was wondering if it was, is this for a like an 8 hour day, or is it for a part time kiddos that just go like half days, or is it, can we stretch it out for the whole day?
So, in going back to, let me do this. Let me go back here under about the curriculum and let me go to the sample lesson plan again. Because I want to go over here to this side and I want to encourage you to download this and try it. So, we have a 1 day lesson plan that you can try. And it has, it's the same one I just looked at, but it has the printable for the puppet, for instance. So, in each day, you're going to have, this is like your group time, right? Then over here, you have these two pink ones, which would
Hmm.
be like your small group or your independent choice. You could set them up during free play. Sometimes we have things here that are more, you're more involved in. So let's say we're doing something with experimenting. Obviously, you're going to be involved in that, and in more of a guiding focus than a leading focus. But then you have your infant experience down here. So what we find is some providers say, "This works great for me because I'll do this activity, I'll do my group time, and then I'm gonna follow up with this one, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
save this one for later in the day when I have free choice,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna add it into my free choice time."
I
Now,
love
you
that.
will find some of them that have the sunshine, which means you can do it outside. There's no reason why you couldn't take this activity outside if it's a
Hmm.
nice day. And there's some activities that should be done outside.
Okay.
So, this is just 1 day out of a whole unit. And I can log in and show you what a whole teaching guide looks like because it's a lot. Let's just put it that way. It's a
Yeah.
lot. We figure we better give you more than you can do, and then you can take what you want out of that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. I love the color coding. And it looks like it all kind of scaffolds for the next unit. Um,
Yes,
with that being,
there's a lot of scaffolding built in there. And there's also, so when we're looking at that 1 day of lesson plans, that's literally just exactly what I said. It's 1 day of lesson plans. Let me see if
I
I'm going to
wish I
try to
found you
log
guys a
in.
year or 2 years ago. Oh, so I just purchased Frog Street last summer. So last this whole school year,
Uh-huh.
I bombed it basically. So and I did exactly what you were saying. Is not I'm not a teacher who is scripted to the T. Like I'll use it as a
Yes.
foundation.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I just what sold me on Frog Street was their the conscious discipline piece partnered
Mhm.
with the actual curriculum to make it this beautiful thing, and it's just so overwhelming. There I don't I felt like they're grasping so hard out of left field to kind of tie the social emotional but also the curriculum piece together, and it just and I think it was my execution truly. It was very rough because it was my very first time. I came from Head Start for 13 years, and so
Oh my gosh. That's a different
when we
world.
did curriculums, when we got new curriculums there, I was on the curriculum committee,
Mhm.
and we would tear everything apart. But when we decided on one, we would bring in the experts, and they would teach us for like 2 weeks
Yeah.
how to execute, how to be intentful, how to be purposeful with everything. Every moment of your day is a teachable moment, when it's all on your own and you have nobody to bounce back ideas. And that was one thing that I was very adamant about, is having support, or even somebody in my area to just kind of go and observe and see how they're doing their circle, and how they're doing some of their small groups. and it was just me. And so I spent with the toddler infant program, also with the preschool, around $10,000.
Oh
And
my
I'm
gosh.
yeah, yeah, and I'm so I can't express I can't express how disappointed I am.
Well,
Um,
and the thing here's what I always say too. Look, curriculum, it shouldn't be that complicated. Here's when I do training, I'm like, look, let's say you're finger painting with the children, right? They're doing science, they're doing language, they're doing social and emotional, right?
mhm,
They're doing problem solving. There's some
thinking,
persistence and
mhm,
patience going on. Like the whole thing is it shouldn't be that complicated, right? It should be more about the thought behind all the wonderful areas these children are touching on when they're doing a simple activity like finger painting. And that's
absolutely.
kind of where we've tried to connect that for you. So what I did while we were talking is I logged in. All right, so let's say you were a GWIZ customer. This is what you would see. This is what you would do. And I'm going to go into this forest exploration unit right now just to show you all the different things that come with it. And we'll look at a whole teacher's guide too. But so you scroll down and there's a teacher's guide, there's a block plan, there's story props, there's materials lists, there's letters. It goes on and on and on and on and on and
Wow.
on and on. These are all the components that come with it. All right. They're all part of it. Majority are PDF files, but let's just look at the teacher's guide. So I'm going to
Assessment
open it
piece
up.
also? Sorry to
Ex-
interrupt.
So the assessment, oh, I'll cover that because that always comes
Okay,
up. Assessment.
sorry.
No, 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 no. It's really important. So when we created GWiz, we looked at all the different assessments. We looked at ages and stages. We looked at teaching strategies gold. We looked at the ounce. We looked at the DRDP in California. And we're like, okay, they're all looking at the same thing. We're all looking at fine motor skills. We're all
Mhm,
looking at vocabulary. We're all looking at all these things. So like, well, why
mhm.
in the world would we reinvent the wheel? So we don't have our own assessment, but we work with any assessment. And I'll show you how we do that after we go through this teacher's guide, because we have a component that links the skills in here in this teaching guide right in front of you to any assessment. So you can say, I need to look and I need to evaluate a child in, let's just say fine motor skills, because we just mentioned that in that booklet, you can look at it and say fine motor skills, and it'll tell you every activity in GWiz that addresses fine motor skills, that unit, like forest explorations. It comes with each unit. Each unit has its own connecting the dots. That's what we call it. So I'll
Okay,
show you that in a second. Um, so yeah, this is one unit. So this is 35 pages long, right? So it has an introduction. We have a little block plan that shows you for this unit, what all we're going to be doing. These are all the activities that are in here. And then it just goes on like we just talked about, where just like in blanket boxes and balls, right? You have your group experience for one on this day, and then you have what could be your small group or your center activities, and then of course you have your infant activity. And this will go on for 10 days in this unit. Again, not dated, just 10 days. Then after you get past all of that, if you needed school age or after school activities, we have
mm,
those too. There's 6 different ones in this unit, and then we have a whole component that comes with the unit called School Age Fun that has even more. So we know in the summer that's really important, right? A
yes.
lot of you have them all day long and they need something to
Mhm.
do. So then you keep going and it walks you through, all right, this unit comes with a story, an original story. There's the props. It talks about how to put them together. It has the text for the story. These are other components that come with the materials and how you're going to use them, like our Let's Read Together booklets that go home.
Oh, I love this.
So this is our learning indicator page
Yep.
that ties in with connecting the dots.
Mhm,
So you can look here and see we have 40 different learning indicator skills, right?
mhm.
Like the skills you would see in any assessment. And
Right.
then these are all the skills that this one activity addresses. All
Mhm.
right. And it goes on to the second page for your school ages. We have a book list. We have original
Oh my
songs and
gosh.
poems. If there's a printable, like we're going to play a game called Find the Nuts. Well, you live in Montana. You might be able to find acorns. I live in Florida. I don't have the acorns. So we provide materials like that for people who may need a paper version versus a real one just because they don't have access to it.
Yeah,
Um, so songs and poems, recipes would go back here. Anything I think will make your life a little bit easier, I put it in the back of the teacher's guide. Okay. So that's just one unit. 10 days, you get 2 units with each month. Okay. Does
I
that make
love
more
this.
sense now that you've
Yes.
seen this? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is it something you think you could do? Like, does it seem easier to you?
I mean, it's literally a snapshot, obviously, but I am more like comfortable and confident in
Yeah.
this than truly the first 20 minutes of Frog Street. And I mean, and I researched Frog Street for a
Yeah.
couple of
I'm
years.
sure. I am sure. Yes.
And it's so overwhelming, and so I had to, like, dig around for some, like, old teacher friends to call and be like, "What do I do? What am I doing?" Like, I'm
Oh,
because the
no.
last thing I wanna do as a teacher is to have to unteach something that I've
Exactly.
already taught, like, because practice makes permanent. Let's be
Yes.
real, it doesn't make perfect unless you're
Yes.
doing it right, but
Yes.
truly it
Yes.
makes permanent, so we have to undo. So I had to be reminded that go back to what I know. Go
Yeah.
back to what I know, and so I
Right.
had to dig out some old things, old tools in my pocket, and I made it work. But and I'm so overwhelmed, truly by frustrated that I've like boxed it up, and I'm like, no. But truly, this is something that it just it's more organic, but it's very very simple with the complexity of getting the our kindergartners where they need to be. Because let's face
Right.
it, they're it's like
Yes.
first grade. It
Yes.
is. It's
Yes.
just like
Yes.
kindergartners are like the first graders.
And I mean, I taught kindergarten, and that's so unfortunate. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go back for just a second because I want to show you. All right, so we looked at the teacher's guide. Let's look at the connecting the dots. So this is the piece that would help you connect to your formal assessment tool. You're going to find that same chart that we saw in the back of the teacher's guide, but what you'll see is more detail. So for instance, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Here's our LD1 in the GWIS curriculum skill is understand spoken language. I guarantee you, I don't care what assessment you're using, you're going to have some skill that says something very similar to that. These are all the activities within this unit that address that skill. All right, so let's say you go down here and you're like, all right, well, I need to know how I'm going to address the skill of science right here. Gathers information about the natural world through hands-on exploration. In this unit, these are all the activities that are going to do that. So if you needed to assess, you could just watch, you could engage during one of these activities, and you'll be able to assess how a child is doing this particular skill. So this booklet is 16 pages long, comes with every unit as well. So there's one for this for florist explorations, there's one for at the beach, there's one for I'm working on September units right now. So it comes with everyone that we do to make that process a little bit easier and a little bit more, as you say, organic, right? Because again, it shouldn't be rocket science. This really should
Right.
not be.
Right.
It should not be. And the other part of that is when you're stressed, you can't be effective because you're too stressed. You're still
Well, and they
worried
know
about
that.
yeah, I mean, it's just not okay for you or for your kids. It's really
No.
not.
It makes my job so much harder.
It does, it does. So there's the school age booklet with more school age activities. Our letters and literacy is really important. You mentioned preparing for school. So when
Mhm.
we created GWIZ, because we knew we had providers that were using this curriculum all over the US and in some countries as well. Some have educational backgrounds, some don't. We were afraid if we wrote too much about letters, letter sounds, beginning writing, et cetera, into the curriculum, we might have providers trying to do things with 2-year-olds they probably shouldn't. So
Oh,
what we did
right.
is we created this booklet that goes with the unit. And what we did, because we are a strong believer in you shouldn't teach letters in isolation. You shouldn't have letter of the week because it makes no sense to them that way. Instead, what you do is you
Mm.
tie it in with what you're doing. So here, the activity is called Fun with the Colors of the Forest, and we're going to reinforce the letter F. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it in a meaningful way, not just a random way. We're going to write the word forest on a piece of paper. We're going to talk about the letter F. We're going to talk about the sound the letter makes. And then we're going to do something related to the letter F. And so these activities are meant to enhance everything that's in the teaching guide for those children who are ready to take it a step further. Doesn't mean necessarily you have to do it as a whole separate activity. You can incorporate it with this activity while it's going on just for the children who are ready. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes.
So that's another component. But yes, all these components come with the curriculum as part of every single unit that we do, including our family letters and digital family notes, our Let's Read Together booklets. I'll show you that one real quick. That is something that you can use in your program. Real simple, short little stories that you can use in your
Mhm.
program And then you can send them home for families to help continue to
Mhm.
build literacy skills, because we all know the best way for children to learn to read is to read to them and read to them a lot when they're young. So even just as simple as turning the pages, right? And so that's something that comes, and those components, anything that goes home, just in case you have anyone who is from a Spanish speaking household, we do have them all available in Spanish. So the family letters,
Mm.
the Let's Read Togethers, the digital family notes, all of those are available in both English and Spanish. So, does that make sense, Jessica?
Does. Absolutely. So in that assessment piece, is it, where you kinda anecdotal notes kind of, or like you're like putting in a date and then a picture, or a date and just a note of
Well, we have other
what.
components for that too.
Oh, wow.
So you're connecting the dots pieces to help you connect your formal assessment to our skills. So like you would put your code for whatever your fine motor skill is in that booklet. But
Okay.
then we also have for as you mentioned anecdotal notes, that is called the observe and reflect, and you can print as many of these out as you want. This is
Here
where
we
you would
go. Okay.
record, you've got your anecdotal note, you've got your reflection, and you have your developmental areas to address in planning. You can print these out as many times or as few a times as you need to. Addition to that, we have this thing called our customized individualized lesson plan grid. So this is where, and we have this available in a PDF if you want to write, we have it in a Word if you want to type. For this unit, you put the children's names up here, and then you could document how you're going to individualize the day's experiences in these boxes. This came about because providers in Ohio that were 5-star had to document their individualizations. So this is a way for you to document, all right, I'm going to do it this way with this child, or this way with
I
this child,
love
or
this.
I'm going to adapt it in a different way for that child. And then in addition to that, we have our individualization web. So our
The
individualization
goals.
web is for each child, print one out for each child,
Mm.
for areas they're interested in, how you can, like, let's say you're doing forest and you have a child that's interested in trucks. All right, well, how are you going to incorporate the two together? How are you going to bring it together? In our user guide, it has a sample of this filled out, but you would actually take their interests and interweave it with what you're doing, and you could plan activities and document them down here and then reflect on how they went. Now, you can also use this, and we have providers that use this with special needs children. So
Mm.
let's say they have a special need, an area they need to focus on, like fine motor skills. Right? You would change this. Obviously, you're not going to ask them this question. You would instead talk about how you're going to adapt for fine motor control, adapt experiencers or add experiencers for fine motor control to our unit. Again, like I said, the foundation is there. You're going to build on it, right? We can't possibly know your children and
Mm.
millions of children across the world, but you do. So this is
Right.
another tool you can use to do that, and then it also can go in their portfolio, right?
Love
So
that.
and in the lesson plans, we also mentioned like now would be a great time to take photos for a portfolio, or this might be a piece of work you want to put in a portfolio, or maybe you want to do a video for. We mentioned that within the lesson plans as well.
I love this. I'm
And
I'm I'm so glad. This is great.
well, you'll be even more great. But you're more excited too because right now we're doing this special where you can actually sign up monthly for $5. It's normally 24.95 a month, but I have a discount code I can give you and it'll be $5 for the first month. Well, actually, you're gonna end up if you signed up today, actually between now and the 5th, you're going to end up getting 4 units because right now, when you sign up for monthly, you actually would have access to our Julys, but our Junes are still here. We're going to the
Wow.
farm and what lives here, so you could download all of these. So what we do is we put 2 new units up every 45 days. So we put up our July units on June the 20th, and they'll stay up until July the 5th, and then they'll come down, and then on July the 20th, our August units will go up. So there's always 2 units up, but right now there just happens to be 4, and they'll stay up until the 5th of July when we take the June units down. So yeah,
I don't
we
have
just
any
want
kids
people.
until like August. But I would love to just be able to just kind of play around with it. So I would love that coding, and I could go ahead and get started on it. Do you guys offer like a whole box set, or is what's online is what it is?
We are all online, and that's how we can keep it so economical. So
Oh
it's
my gosh,
not
I love this.
$10,000. So it's
Yes,
24.95 a month, or I think
I
it's
love this.
245 for a whole year. Like it's we did that intentionally. We wanted it
Yes.
to be economical. We just felt like there was already a lot of things out there that were way expensive. And providers like you work on really tight budgets, and
Mm,
it doesn't need to be that way. You don't need to spend a fortune. So,
yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, the code, the discount code, and I think Gray has a flyer too that I sent to her, but the discount code is Big Savings 24. So you just when you choose monthly as your way to subscribe, you put that in, and it should charge you just $5
Big savings
instead.
24. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Any
right.
other questions? And the other thing I would encourage you to do is under the educational resources, we have tons of free resources for providers. Like we just posted, for instance, our 4th of July materials. They're here. And you don't even need to be a customer to get to any of these. Anything under here or here. And then you talked about learning how to use it. Well, that's covered too. Under onboarding training webinars, we have 4 webinars we created to help you know how to use the curriculum to the most. There's one that talks about all the components and how they're used. This one talks about those picture codes and how they really work. The next one talks about adapting and individualizing, and then the final one is about assessment. They're 30 minutes long, they're quick, but it gives you a really good, strong foundation on how to use the curriculum. So they are just
Great.
under, and you don't have to be a customer to watch those either. They're under
Okay.
training,
Awesome.
under training and support. Any other questions, Jessica?
One more. One more. That's it. I promise. So, do you know if any of the trainings would and maybe you might know, Gray, would be, I guess, accepted under the childtraining.org? Sometimes we have to do those, like I think it's like 15 hours maybe a year. And sometimes like those trainings that are underneath that hub just really don't kind of reflect what some of our ages or what we're doing. But I'm finding that things like this are so much more right here what we're doing, especially with our age group. But I wonder if that would also count for some of those hours that we need.
Yeah, I haven't gone through the Montana one. We're in some Pennsylvania, we're in their National Registry of Trainers. In fact, I need to go renew that, as a matter of fact. Thanks you for reminding me. But when you do these, now I will tell you this, and if you tell me who to reach out to, Gray, I can certainly do that to find out if it would be possible to put them in there. But each one does have a post assessment. So let's say
Mm.
you want a
Oh,
certificate of attendance that says, yeah, they watched it, yeah, they answered these 10 questions. You can't get to the certificate of attendance unless you do the post assessment. So you know, it is structured such that it can be part of the registries that are now, and it's since COVID become a bigger thing,
mhm.
putting recordings in, right? So not just live training, but recorded training. Because let's face it, it's tough to go to live training because it's hard for y'all. You don't have extra time to be just running out to training. These are great because they're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can't sleep 2:30 in the morning. You could, you could do a
Log
video.
in.
So it's certainly something I can look into. In some states, it's an easy process. In some states, it's convoluted.
Yeah.
It's from state to state, it's very different.
Yeah, I'll add my 2 cents. Historically, ECP hasn't given credit for things that are branded, but if you do it and turn in the certificate,
Mm,
often sometimes you are able to get credit. It's
Okay.
just like independent. So
Yeah.
yeah, convoluted again. I'm not
yeah.
Right.
super
Yeah,
sure.
Hear
well,
you.
and
Yeah.
the other part of that is too, we do training webinars all the time, and now that I have Gray as a contact, that'll be great because especially coming up now, we don't just do training about Gee Whiz. We do training like mealtime is learning time, and no money, no problem, using household materials as learning materials, and the why behind experiences, and lesson planning for mixed age. Like we do a ton of training that's not related necessarily to Gee Whiz, and we record those and put them under our webinar training tab. So, those are always available just for your information. But it'll be something that as we move forward, and I now have a contact in Montana, I can at least say, hey, here, we're doing this training. If you want to join us, please do. And we record those too. So, because we know everybody can't, we do them in the evenings during the week, but it's usually 7 o'clock Eastern or sometimes 7:30 Eastern because we're on the
Right.
East Coast. So yeah, it makes it a little trickier for you who are, just wrapping up your day at that hour.
Mm-hmm. No, this is great.
Any other questions? Gray, do you have any questions I can answer?
You covered Jessica and you covered everything I was thinking. It was like I would have a thought and then Jessica would say it or you would say it. So not for me, but yeah, Jessica, if anything else, and I'll send you that flyer too. So
Oh,
if you
great.
didn't get written down, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
No, this is wonderful. Truly, like this is, and it's really inspiring because I mean, I was actually just talking to to my assistant yesterday. Like, we really gotta like focus. We gotta like dive deep into this curriculum, and so and we're both on the same playing field with it. Like we know that there's a lot to it, but I'm just so turned off, really, truly, that I can't even wait to as soon as I get off the computer, I'm calling her right now. You can tell her, log on.
Please do. And like I said, there's a ton of free stuff on there too. So take advantage of it. We really do want to be more than just curriculum. We really want to support providers in as many
I love
ways as we
this.
can. And let other
Thank
providers
you.
know too, because Montana's a state where we're just now reaching out to y'all. So believe it or not, there's only so much we can do. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, word of mouth is like, especially where we're at, that speaks volumes versus almost
absolutely.
anything else. And so,
Absolutely. And we know
yeah,
we aren't right for everybody, but we tried to price ourselves so that people wouldn't be afraid to try it. And you're not committing $10,000. You're committing at the most 24.95, and right now $5. So so we just really want you to see that it doesn't have to be so hard, right? Like
yeah,
a happy provider is an effective provider. Like that's how
absolutely.
we look at it. And y'all have enough stress on on you. Believe me, we
Hmm.
know. And that this should not be one of them. It really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. So, Gray, you want me to stop sharing my screen now?
Sure. Yeah.
All right,
Thank
great.
you.
We'll do it. All right.
Awesome. Beth. Yeah. So we have a few more updates. Beth, you're welcome to stay, but I know we've kind of kept you later.
Oh,
So if
no
you need
worries. I'm
okay.
happy, Jessica, you joined, and I'm happy I could answer your questions. And oh, my email, Gray has my email. You're welcome to
Okay,
share it with Jessica or put it in the
Okay.
chat so everybody has it. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have more questions. It's not a problem.
thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right, you have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye.
you too.
Beth.
Bye. Sorry, I was
Jessica,
a little late.
oh, no, no, no worries. Do not apologize ever. And I'm also, it's after 2. So there are a few more things, but if you need to jump off, I totally understand. Or if you want to stay, that's
Oh,
okay.
I'm
Whatever's
good.
fine. You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I was glad you could come because I hadn't thought of half the questions you asked. So I'm glad you did that.
Many, many years of Head Start and education committees. Like,
And yeah, there's information on our website about GWiz as well, but I'll send you that flyer and her email. So yeah, we are excited when we saw it, especially the mixed AIDS groups. We know so many writers do that. So
well, just
uh
looking at some of the units were a little bit more inviting to our neck of the woods, you know. It's hard to
right.
like teach about the safari.
Yeah.
Like they're like a what?
Yeah. We've got great wilderness here. Let's focus on
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So yeah, and before that we just kind of did introduction. So you really haven't
Okay.
made. We just have a few Montana Shared Services highlights, and then we'll go into subservice, and then we're done. And so we've shared a little bit about information about the book subscription in the past, but it's a service we're partnering with First Book, where folks can get $25 worth of books by paying $10 a month. So it's $15 worth of books delivered right to your door. And as a way to kind of get that going, we've been doing some giveaways. So anyone who joins is entered in that month for a giveaway of $25. And then we're also doing a couple fun things this summer. If you text book to 59925, you're entered to win by saying your favorite children's book. And then there's also a bingo. And
Hmm.
it's super, we're trying to make it fun and low stakes, but if you read 3 books or right, there's a whole bingo card, you're also entered again. And there's books of your choice. So it's social emotional books, books about all different stuff. So all of
Neat.
that is on our website, just trying to get that out there. And then the other thing is we have our yearly feedback survey. So every year we do a survey to get feedback from providers about where shared services should go, how it should be shaped. And so that's been live for about a month now. We have 65 people who have filled it out. But if you haven't yet, encourage you to do that. And 4 folks are going to get $25 gift cards for filling that out.
Wow,
Yeah. Any
that's
questions
great.
on those or?
I think so.
Okay. And then for our sub-service, we always like to do a little update just on the numbers, and then we have one reminder. So now we are officially open in 28 towns across the
That's awesome.
state. Yeah, it's been growing this summer. We
Yes.
have 42 active subs, so those are folks actively picking up shifts, right? We have
Yeah.
3 folks that are in the process of becoming subs. They're working on their courses, right? We're waiting on background checks. In June, we had 53 shifts filled across the state, which was up.
Kidding.
Yeah, it was up from the month before. And so to date, since August, almost 2 years now, since August 2022, we've had 328 shifts filled across the state. So
I love that.
yeah, it's growing. There's still room to grow, but
Mhm.
we have 91 childcare businesses who are currently set up. And then the one little update is we have changed. We talked about this a little bit last month, but it's live now. So I wanted to bring it up to everyone. We used to do placements where folks would need to pay a fee in order to post a shift. Providers said this is tedious and tiresome. This is sometimes too expensive. And so we've switched to a subscription service. And so
Okay.
July is the very first month we've done this. So please, as people are doing it, give us feedback because we are happy to look at it again. But for any family providers to post a shift, it's completely free. We want you guys to have days off. For our groups, it's $10 a month. And with that, you can, right, have subs for August and then maybe pause it in September because you're fully staffed and then start again in October, right? We want it to be flexible for when you're using it. Or you can do a year-long one if you're someone that's just like, I don't want to deal with that. I'll just
Yeah.
and then centers are paying a little more because centers, right, are utilizing our subs more.
Okay.
Um, Same thing though with month or yearly. We thought about making it free, but again, in order for us to keep our doors open and keep
Yeah.
getting subs, we need to have some revenue for
Absolutely.
recruitment, background checks, what have you. We still
So,
have a sliding fee scale. Go ahead.
so that's just to post what you're needing on the portal
Yeah.
or okay. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
childcare matters is where it is. And then
Okay.
programs are responsible for paying the subs. You, as the program, gets to pick your wage. So whatever you want to pay them, we're happy to kind of advise what other folks are doing in the area. And then the one other thing is programs need to have payroll. And so if you don't have payroll already, we will do that for you free of charge to pay the subs. Because they're not independent contractors. They
Okay.
temporary employees for programs.
So do they get so like would my bookkeeper write that person a check that day or do they like get paid when our payroll goes out or
It's up to the program. Most
okay.
programs do it just with their regular payroll. And subs understand that, right? I'm gonna get paid down the line.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's like some of our smaller ones that don't do big payrolls sometimes do
Mm,
it that day, but
yeah.
mostly it's just, yeah, whenever your payroll is gonna happen. So
And then taxes are taken out and all of that.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think I mean I don't know, I feel like sometimes it might be like a good incentive if I would, to offer cash at the end of the shift. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
something that would be more or less inviting or so, sometimes too it's like, well now at the end of if you subbed all week or something, you want that little chunk at the end of the week.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean I guess for me I would be willing to to be so accommodating because why not? I mean, one, I'm a small enough outfit, and number two, to keep people coming back to utilize
right.
those services, I would want to do what was best for them, and I know my bookkeeper, she's pretty flexible. She'll like run the numbers for me and
Oh, nice.
like, okay, write the check out for this amount, and this we could take the taxes and whatnot. But it's
Yeah, and we know some folks do like bonuses sometimes with subs too, of like a gift card if they've been working for
oh
them
yeah,
for a
oh I
while,
love
right?
that.
We do our own incentives for subs, but like it is always up to the program. Like we had one actually up in your neck of the woods. Their first shift would be around like $10 an hour. And then like after that, she increased it when she like knew them or would give them a bonus, what have you. So yeah, and you get to kind of advertise all of that in your
Oh, I
post. And
love that.
yeah,
Okay,
more freedom.
cool.
We don't want to get in
Yeah,
between any of that. So
that's great. Okay, cool.
yeah. And then preaching to the choir, but ways to get involved. We have our newsletter, text alerts, there's feedback forms. Jessica is on our advisory council, but anyone watching this who wants to join, please do. All our social medias. Then you're our only participant, so you're gonna get the raffle.
That's
So
the
thank
only way to win is when you're the only
you.
one. Somehow I'm gonna lose. I still feel.
No, you still won. You won. So I'll email you afterwards and we can figure out how to get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Um, other questions, other things that are coming up for you?